Bitcoin profits deemed taxable by Denmark's Supreme Court. Profits from the sale of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are taxable, according to two rulings by the Supreme Court of Denmark. The verdicts in the cases, which involve crypto purchases and payments as well as income received from Bitcoin mining, uphold decisions of lower courts. Profits made from the sale of Bitcoin are taxable in Denmark, the country's Supreme Court has decided in two separate rulings announced on Thursday. Both decisions are history. And Philip Shoemaker of Identity.com explains why he thinks decentralized identification is the future. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Pippa Stevens. Digital currencies are mixed after rebounding from the morning lows. By noon Eastern, Bitcoin traded around $19,000, Ether traded above $1,300, while Cardano dipped to 36 cents. Okay, let's talk about the top stories. First up, the IRS is considering a change to its tax rules to include NFTs. The Treasury Department released a draft of its language for the 2022 tax year, and it shows the agency has switched from the term virtual currencies, as it's used in the past, to digital assets. The new definition is meant to include NFTs, cryptocurrencies, stablecoins, and more, rather than the much narrower definition from before. Right now, the new terms are just a draft, but if they're adopted, tax filers will be required to tell the IRS if they received, sold, or transferred digital assets in a given year. Next, we've got another hack to tell you about. Moolah Market, which operates on DeFi platform Cello, had more than $10 million in crypto stolen off the platform. The developer tweeted that an attacker had manipulated the price of the protocol's Moo token. The hacker then used that inflated token as collateral to buy a bunch of the protocol's stablecoins. Moolah Market said they negotiated with the hacker to get 93% of the funds returned and that they were working to restore functionality to the service. Last, speaking of hacks, CNBC's Eamon Javers took a deep dive into the crocodile of Wall Street, one of crypto's biggest alleged money laundering schemes so far, the Bitfinex hack of 2016. Those hackers walked away with billions in Bitcoin, but Eamon sat down with security experts to find out why most of those funds were never spent.
It's difficult to launder large amounts of cryptocurrency in short periods of time because it draws attention. If you try and just move that all to an exchange and cash out, then that's going to set off alarm bells.
Investigators say about 80% of the stolen Bitcoin never moves from the digital wallet the hacker transfers them to. But according to the criminal complaint, the couple did try to cash out some of the crypto. Investigators say Liechtenstein uses some of the digital currency to purchase gold from a precious metals dealer, using his home address for the shipment. None of the gold was found in the couple's apartment. Funds connected to the hack are also used to buy a $500 Walmart gift card. Investigators say Heather redeems in her name and New York City address. The couple's email addresses are also connected to gift cards purchased for Uber, Hotels.com, and PlayStation.
When you have that interface between the crypto world and the real world, you in some way disclose your identity. If you're buying a gift card with crypto, you generally need to give your address to whichever retailer the gift card is from.
The prosecutors charged them here with the money laundering, but they didn't charge them with the initial hack. So that raises the possibility that there is a mystery hacker out there somewhere who's maybe not being charged. Who do you think that person is?
It's a great question.
And of course, what happens to the billions of dollars worth of recovered Bitcoin?
You want to know what fight is coming? I can tell you right now. $3.6 billion, people are going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to get their hands on that pot of gold.
I do think it's going to be a fight.
I can imagine that in the future there will be movies about it.
There are many twists and turns in this story. You can check out the full documentary over at youtube.com/CNBC. All right, on to our main story. We're talking about how you identify yourself online. You've probably heard that Web3 wants to give back control of your identity and data, but how does decentralized identification work? Crypto World's Jordan Smith spoke to Philip Shoemaker of Identity.com to find out.
To start off, can you talk a little bit about what Identity.com does and what decentralized identification looks like?
Yeah, identity.com is we're basically a nonprofit that focuses on bringing decentralized identities to the large masses. Now, what a decentralized identity is basically it allows you to be in control of your domain, right? You're in control of your own identity by keeping the identity on your phone rather than it being stored in a bunch of honeypots like on Facebook or Chase or those kind of places. You store it yourself locally, so you're in control of who sees it and what access they get.
So this type of technology, is this mainly focused on protocols for developers to be able to implement? Is this something that users can take control of? Who's in charge of in terms of adopting this?
Yeah, you know, there's a variety of companies working on decentralized identities, but identity.com focuses on the protocol that we push out in order to get it into a bunch of different services, web apps, et cetera, in order to roll it out to the customers. We don't have any forward-facing customer features. It's all about ultimately what the customer can be in control of, and we're really focused on that.
How do soul-bound tokens fit into this idea of a decentralized identity? I mean, they're touted as that, you know, one of the ultimate goals of this NFT technology. How soon will we see something like that used widespread for this type of implementation?
Yeah, the interesting thing about soul-bound tokens is the idea is that you get this SPT. It's a type of NFT that basically stays with you, right? Right now, what people do is they put identities onto wallets, and those wallets tend to be you can transfer them, et cetera. And many of us carry multiple wallets with us, right? Or carry multiple wallets with us. An SPT basically is one person, one SPT, right? And hands down, that is the definitive person. That's how you define who that person is. Now, with what we do with our gateway passes, we do a similar thing. We attach it to a wallet, but you can't have different identities on different wallets and pretend to be different people, right? It's still tied to one person, which is exactly what SPTs are doing. Now, the difference between SPTs and decentralized identities in general is SPTs are putting all of your credentials on chain, and they keep it in a place on chain, which we find is a little more dangerous than having it off chain and then making it available on chain as needed.
I want to talk about the competition for just a second. You used to work for Apple, and they have their own vision for what the future of identification looks like, and it's very centralized. I mean, they want to use the Apple Wallet for credit cards. They want to put your driver's license on there. You can sign in with Apple on different websites now. But how does that methodology for digital identification differ from your view? And why do you think that might not be the right way to go about it?
Well, first of all, I want to say, kudos to Apple for doing this, pushing this initiative, because companies like us have been working with various data providers to get access to the DMV data, and Apple's able to go directly, largely because of their name and their power, right? So that's great that they're able to make this more accessible to the customer, because to be honest, it is difficult to use anything in the Web3 world right now because you deal with wallets and keys and things like this, things that most people don't really understand. In our area, we believe that what Apple is doing is good, but at the same time, they're centralizing a lot of this data, right? Now this data can be accessible by Apple, and potentially, if they add APIs in the future, to be able to access your information by a third party. Right. The goal, if you look at what Apple always does, is they add these features, they slowly roll them out. So right now they're connecting to a few DMVs in America to be able to push this ID onto your phone. And if that ID is ultimately accessible by TSA, et cetera, it's wonderful, right? It makes things really slick. But at the same time, it's not decentralized. A third party in the App Store will ultimately be able to access that ID, I believe, with your approval. And it just kind of muddies the waters, right? That's my big concern is our belief is, as long as you're controlling the ID on your phone and no third party is involved in it, you completely control access to it. Now, with Apple being involved, you don't know what's going to happen, right? There might be a use case where Apple's going to want to dig into that or allow their third parties to. And that's where it really kind of concerns me.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today, but we are back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.